using Scratch. And first thing you can see is that there's a bird, some pipes, and there's the high score. And the high score, it is like the highest ever score that somebody has had in the whole history. And there is my score, which is the score that I currently had. So if I run this program, initially it's 0, and I clicked on the space key, and the bird went up. And also, it crossed the pipes. And once it crossed the pipes, it created the bird sound. And also, the score increases every time I cross the pipes. And if I crash it to the pipe, then it will be game over. So let's see how we can make this game using Scratch. So first, there's the backdrops, and the backdrops, I go here. I have the blue sky backdrop, but really, you can just have any backdrop that you want. And for the bird, I had parrot A and parrot B. And if you want those costumes, then you can go here and say choose a costume. And here in the search, you just search out parrot, and then you'll see parrot A and parrot B. Let's go back. So that is for the Flappy. For the pipes, there is the pipes, and I've already made them. But if you want to make the pipes, it's not available in the Scratch currently. So you just go here and say paint. And then over here, first I convert to bitmap, let's say. Then if I make this, then I'll just say, let's say I have a pipe that is the blue color, for example. And I will just draw a blue pipe here. And I can just copy paste the blue pipes and keep it over here. And the first thing that you can see is that actually the first thing that you can see is that there's like the space in between. So that's why you have to go and keep it like that. And I already have a pipe, so I do not need to use these pipes. So first thing is that in the events we need the when green flag clicked. And we want our score, so we will make a variable called my score. And then, as you can see, there's the my score variable. And initially, I will set the my score variable to 0. Then in the control, I'll have a forever loop, and inside that, I will create something that is called a clone. So I'll drag this block, which is create clone of myself. So first of all, what does the clone do? The clone just creates the exact same kind of sprite, and you can program that clone sprite to do the tasks that you give it. So you can imagine that there's this pipes over here, and it creates the exact same kind of pipes, and you can program that pipes to do a task. And since we want some control in between, so I'll just have a wait, and let's say I have 4 seconds, for example. And now I'll just go and program the clone, and for that I will say when I start as a clone, which is in the control. So when I start as a clone, first of all, what I want to do is that I want to show it. So over here, there is the show. And first we'll go up in the left-hand side, because that's where we want it to be. So I'll just say go to, and I'll have a specific X and Y coordinates. So let's say we have the X as 240, and the Y, since we don't want to keep it monotonous, we have to keep it going randomly, because we want the space to be random in every area. We don't want it to be monotonous. So we'll have it as random. So for that, in the operators, there's a pick random option. So I can just drag it up here in the Y, and 1 and 10 is the initial value that Scratch gives, but you can have any value. So let's say I have minus 80 to plus 80, for example. And now I will make the pipes glide all the way to the right. So what happens is that the person will get an illusion that the bird is moving, but in actual, it's the pipes that are moving. So over here in the motion, we'll just say glide, and let's say I say 5 seconds, for example, and I'll say X position to minus 450, and the Y, we really do not know what the Y position is, so I'll just go down and say that it is the Y position over here, because it is random. And at last, we can't really do anything with the clone, so we'll just go back to control and say delete this clone, which is at the end. So now if I save it and run the program, there's the pipes and they're just going through, and then the pipes come back, and you can see that the spaces are in different areas, and it's not really monotonous. Sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down. And that is for the pipes. Now let's program the Flappy. For the Flappy, first you know that we have the one green flag clicked. And first we want to check if the Flappy has not crashed onto any obstacles or the edge yet. So initially we will go and make a variable. Let's say it's called crashed. And initially we will set it to false. So over here it is false. And then after that we will go to an X and Y coordinate, let's say. So there's the go to, and let's say it will be minus 50, and Y we will keep it 0. So its Y position is the center, so it has a center Y position, and the X position is a little bit to the left hand side. And then in the control we will have a repeat until, which is down here. So there's the repeat until, and we will repeat it until the crashed is equal to true. So that means whatever tasks we perform in there, we will repeat it until finally the crashed is set to true. So I'll say crashed is equal to true. And first of all, why are we doing this? The reason why we are doing this is because inside what we will keep is that we will just change the Y position and we'll make it decrease, decrease, decrease. Now, of course, if it hits the pipe or the edges, the crash will be true because it's game over. And we do not want the program to continue after that, so we will just do it until the program ends, basically. So the motion, I'll just scroll down over here and say change Y by, and I'll say minus 3. And then in the control, I will just have an if condition. And then in the sensing, I'll just say touching color. And since we want the touching color to be black, because over here, first thing you can see in the pipes, in the costumes actually, and the pipes, is that it has a black border. And a smarter way to detect it was that if it basically touches the black, because you can notice that there's no other black on the screen. So this would be perfect. So that's why we will go and keep it the color as black. And the black is going to be and yeah. Now we also want to check if it touches the edge, so that's why we have to say an or. So I'll just go and replace it. And I'll keep this inside. And then in the sensing, there's touching mouse pointer. So I'll say touching, and then if you click on the mouse pointer, there's the edge. So I'll say touching edge. So if the value passes, then first thing we will do is that we will set crash to true, because we know that the program will stop. It's game over. So we'll say crash is true. And then we just want the player to see that the game is over. We want to notify the player. So we'll say game over. And then after this, we'll just play a sound also to represent the game over. So let's say start sound screech. And then we'll just glide the parrot down. So there's the glide 1 second. The X position as whatever X position it is. So over here there's the X position, and Y we will keep it as minus 243. So that is basically, it will just glide down. Because the pair has crashed, it will go back down. And then what we will do is that we will go in the control, and when we scroll down there is the stop all. So I'll just go and keep that stop all. So if I run the program now, there's this, and you can see that it just said game over, and it played the screech sound, it glided, and also it just said stop all, and now you can see that the pipes have disappeared. Now what if we want the pipes to stay there? So that's why we'll create a broadcast. So in the event, you'll just go and say broadcast over here, and you'll say broadcast, for example, we have a new message, and you'll say bird crashed. And then instead of stop all, we'll say stop other scripts in Sprite. And over here, we also want the pipes to stop. So in here, let's say we'll have when I receive bird crashed, we will stop other scripts in that sprite. So over here, there's the stop other scripts. Stop other scripts in the sprite. Yeah. Now if I run it and the bird crashes, then the bird said game over, and the pipes are also staying where they are. This is why you should do broadcast and stop the other sprites and scripts. And that is why we should do the broadcast, not the stop all. And now we want the bird to start flapping and going up, because we also want the game to go, or else it will just be game over immediately. So I'll go here, back to Flappy, and over here, like right there. Over here, I'll have another when green flag clicked, and then I'll have a forever loop because we're continuously sensing. There's the forever, and I will check with an if condition. I'm checking if the key space is pressed. So the key space pressed, and if it is, then we will switch our costume just to create a kind of flapping look. So I'll say switch costume to, and let's say parrot A, and then after this I'll say change Y by 30, for example. So there's here, and I'll say change Y by, and I'll say 30. Now if I run it and click on the space key, the bird goes up too much, as you can see. So that's why what we will do is that we'll go into control, and we will have a repeat. So we'll drag this over here, and we won't repeat 5 times. Let's say we will repeat 5 times. And then after this, you have 6, let's say. Now if I run it, and the bird goes up, and it's the exact same thing, but the bird goes up gradually because it's in a loop. Because 5 times 6 is anyway equal to 30, but the difference is that the bird goes up gradually, one by one, and as well as in the change Y by 30, it goes immediately. So that is why we should keep the repeat. And first of all, the bird is not really flapping, it's just switching the costume. We want some flapping effects, so that's why I'll just say change to parrot B. Now if I run it, then there's the parrot kind of, you can see that it was flapping. And now if I go and cross the pipes, over here, when I cross the pipes, you can see that the score does not even increase. So that's why we want the score to increase. So I'll just go down and over here. First, also, I'll say when I start as a clone, because we want to perform some multiple tasks. So I'll say when I start as a clone, and I will say I'll have a wait until. And in the wait until, I will have a greater than. Then in here, I'll have X position. We want to check the X position of Flappy, not really the pipe. So that's why I'll just go down over here and I'll say backdrop number of stage, and I'll change this to Flappy, and now it says X position of Flappy. And then we're checking if the X position is equal to X position plus 220. So in the operators there's the plus, and I'll go down here. I'll say plus 220. So in short, we're checking if the X position of the bird is greater than the pipe and the difference is 220, which means that the bird has completely crossed the pipe. This is because my pipe width is 200 pixels. So we're checking if the bird has crossed. And that is the difference of the X position between the pipe and the bird. And now, of course, we want the score to increase. So in the variables, I'll just say change, and I'll say my score by 1. And then I will start the sound bird. So because we want the bird to just celebrate, so that's an extra sound. So now, when the bird crosses, it plays the bird sound and also it increases the score. And now, players all across the globe are like playing your games, so that's why we want some kind of a high score so that it keeps track of whoever has had the most score in whole history and whole time. So that's why we will go in the variables, and this time in the make a variable, I'll just keep in high score, and you won't just click on OK. This time you will click on this cloud variable stored on server, and you click on that. Then you'll click on OK. And then the variable has been created, and it says this. You will get this notification. Just go back over here. And over here in the variables, you can see that there's the high score. So it will anyway create it. And we want to show the high score variable just so that everybody can see. And now, initially the high score will be set to 0 because so far nobody has played the game. So I'll have an if condition after this because since over here we're changing the score, I'll go in the control and I'll say if, and I'll go in this operators and I'll say greater than, then the variables I'll keep in my score, and I'm going to check if it is greater than the high score. And if it is, then I'm going to set the high score to my score. So this basically what it does is that we're checking if you had a higher score than the high score. So for example, let's say the high score was 10, the highest score. And let's say now you played the game and you got a score of 11. Now 11 is greater than 10. So the high score will be set to 11 because you had a greater number than the high score. So in short, in this video, you learn how to effectively use variables and the cloud variable, of course, and also learn some conditions and logic which you can use in developing any game, like how to control the sprite with keys. And you also learn a little bit of the use of the repeat until. So now let's just play the game. and there's the bird, and it crosses, and the high score is increasing. Let's say we had 2. Now I'll stop it. And if I run it again, the high score says 2, you can see. So the high score has been recorded. And I crashed the pipes, and it said game over. If I crash the floor, then also it said game over. And the high score again is set to 2 because that's the highest score anybody has had in history. And also, now if I go and play it, and I get 3 over here, first I have 1, then I'll have 2, and then I'll have 3. So you can see that since 3 was greater than 2, the high score also increased to 3. And again, it's 3 now. So that just wraps up the whole video. So I hope you guys liked it.